Monday night, everybody. Chris McDonald with you on this Monday night, the 22nd day of June. I'm sorry, not the 22nd. What am I thinking about? The 17th day of June. I was looking at the clock. It's 9:22. I almost said the 22nd day of September. That would have been a hoot. Not that I've not done something stupid like that before. I was looking at the clock, and I was like, today's 22nd. No, it's 9:23. We're a little late tonight getting on the air, but it's okay. Good reason for that. And we're grateful that you're here tonight, and we want to welcome you. And we're going to do a new show here tonight. We're going to go over some headlines, take your questions at the end, give a few thoughts, and then say goodnight. We got a sort of staggered week coming up, as you know, most of you know. We'll talk about this more Wednesday night. We got our conference coming up this weekend in the big town. I don't know how big Dalton is, but it's going to be big enough for the McFiles clan that's going to be up there. And we've got a great time coming ahead. That's part of our faith network. And we're going to be there Friday night, 7 o'clock, and then Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 7. 4 sessions. No registration needed, no entry fee. Just come. We'll have a good time of fellowship. We're hoping to have some handouts for you. We're working on that. We've been a little behind with that, but we're going to get that caught up tomorrow and so forth. But tonight, I want to deal with the news side. This is our news show. We're going to have a couple of some pre-recorded interviews. Ruth Gutenheim will be with us tomorrow night. Alice Linehan is coming back. She is our education and so forth, and we're our education lady. She's got a lot to say about some of the things going on since we've seen her last. And last time we talked to Alice, she had been through a real trial physically, like I had, almost at the same time. It was really weird, and God bless her heart. We're grateful to have her back. We're going to have James Akers on this week, hopefully one night, and then hopefully next week things will be back to normal. We'll be back on 5 nights next week. So just bear with us this week. And we know we'll be on here tomorrow night, Wednesday night, possibly Thursday night. It'll be an audio interview if we do Thursday. We may play a replay show or something from Ohio. And then Friday night it'll be all faith, and Saturday. And then again, we'll get back to normal next week. Hopefully and prayerfully, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. That's all I got to say. We're grateful for you tonight. I want to go over some headlines tonight, and then we got a few thoughts at the end of the show tonight. I do want to say this before we get started tonight. Please remember, I know this is not faith tonight, but in a way it's just as important to say it on the news side as it is the faith side. Cleotis, folks, her son Christopher is going through surgery as we speak tonight. It's there Tuesday, and please remember the Cleotis family tonight and your prayers. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but please remember them as you pray this week. And we'll say more about that on Wednesday night on our faith show for sure. All righty, let's go to our headlines and. Cleo wants us to thank. Let me come back over here. I just got a text from her. Hang on just a second. She does want to thank everybody for the prayers during this time of her family. Christopher's still in surgery as of 9:26 tonight. So thank you all. And that's from the Cleotis family tonight. And I want to thank you as well for all the prayers and all the kind words that I'm sure that you all have sent Cleo. And she's a vital part of our network. She's been here with us. She's been one of the originals going back to 2018, and we're grateful for her and all the moderators. Kathy's out there tonight, Dory, Natalie Corbin, and of course Jason Miller, and so forth. But it's just one of those nights, folks. We need to remember Cleo in our prayers. Just remember that, and we'll talk more about that on our Wednesday night faith show as we always pray for the sick. But tonight I want to deal with a few headlines. And we'll take your questions at the end. Just let me talk for a few minutes. I'm not going to keep you long tonight. We're going to go over these headlines real quick. I'm going to take your questions and thoughts, and then we're going to say goodnight on a Monday. We were going to do a guest tonight, but I'm just not physically feeling the best tonight. And we're going to try to consolidate the show down just a little bit and get you out of here at a decent hour. But let's look at our headlines tonight. This is an interesting one. This is the Democrats' playbook. I don't know if you know this, but Benjamin Netanyahu is coming to the United States July the 24th this summer, and they are planning to protest and disrupt his speech. What's new? The Democrats plan to disrupt Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's speech to a special joint session of Congress on July the 24th in an unprecedented show of hostility to the democratically elected leader of a close American ally. This is out of Breitbart. This is over the weekend. 56 Democrats boycotted Netanyahu's speech in 2015 when Republicans invited him to argue against then-President Barack Obama's nuclear deal with Iran. This time, Axios is reporting that Democrats plan to go bigger than a boycott. Quote, the proposals include a press conference, a vigil, or an event with families of those poor Hamas sympathizers or hostages taken by Hamas, many whom feel Netanyahu hasn't done enough to free their loved ones. And a sign of how extensive and high level some of the discussions are, former House Majority Whip Jim Clyburn told Politico he was participating in one counter-programming meeting. Several progressive House members are planning to attend the speech but disrupt it. One lawmaker said the speech may be especially awkward given that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer called earlier this year for Netanyahu to be ousted in a new election. The Biden administration has been trying to undermine the Israeli leader since he was elected in November 2022, with the exception of a brief period when Israel and Saudi Arabia were near a peace deal before October the 7th of last year. I want to come back over here and say something about that statement about Netanyahu has not done enough to free their loved ones. Folks, we got American hostages still over there. And we'll get to the Q&A. I'm going to let you chime in on this, not right now. But I'm going to ask you a blunt question tonight. Has Joe Biden done enough to get our American hostages out over there? Blank, no, he has not. Blank, no, he has not. He's not done anything of the sort. This country has sit by and let Hamas run over Israel and do everything in their power. Very little support. And I don't care what they're saying out there with their mouth, folks. Actions always speak louder than words. And the bottom line is tonight, this government has done very, very little publicly to support Israel. And what's happening is this. These terrorists are seeing the distance between this government and the Israeli government. And whenever that happens, Hamas digs deeper. That's one of the reasons why they rejected the hostage deal last week. They don't have to. They don't have to accept a hostage deal from Israel because they know America is going to back their play in this. And they're not going to back Israel's play, which is pathetic. But this is crap. But all I got to tell the Dems is knock yourself out. You knock yourself out and you show your backside in July. We don't expect nothing less from you. We've come to expect you showing your backside, and we shouldn't be shocked. We shouldn't be all bent out of shape about it. I find it interesting that one of their progressive voices, Jamal Brown or Janelle Brown or whatever his or her name is, she has drawn the attention of one Hillary Clinton, who is now campaigning actively with his opponent in the primary to get him out. And tonight, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and we'll have this story in the Telegram room after the show tonight. But Wasserman Schultz is out there slamming the mob, slamming the squad or whatever for their anti-Semitism. She's Jewish, by the way. Chuck Schumer's Jewish, by the way. And there's a lot of Jewish people in Congress, folks. So all I got to tell you, Democrats, knock yourself out. But what I'm going to say tonight is to the Jewish community. And it's a simple question, not to take swords with you. We love you. We love the Jewish people. We love Israel. We support Israel on this broadcast. I get so much flack. These symbols have been called witchcraft symbols. I've been called names for putting these up on my show. People have stopped talking to me. Good friends have stopped talking to me. I mean, I ain't heard from some folks in months, and I know what it's over, and it's stupid stuff, and that's okay. They don't have to support Israel. They can be silent in the face of terror, and they can act, like Israel's the great Satan if they want to. I'm not going to do that because Israel's not the great Satan in the world. Nope, it's not the great Satan. But I'm going to ask the Jewish community something tonight. Why do you vote for these Dems? Why do you vote for a party? Why do you vote for a party? Why do you vote for a party that backstabs your constituency over and over and over again, but yet you go into those polls and 60 to 40, usually 70 to 30 Most Jews vote Democrat. That I don't understand. And I'm trying to figure that one out. I haven't figured it out yet. Not sure if I ever will. But it's a good question. And we'll talk about it here at the end of the show tonight. But that's what I would ask the Jewish people. I don't expect nothing less than these liberal, Jew-hating Democrats. I just don't. And we shouldn't come to expect anything more. As my daddy used to say, if it's a duck and it quacks like a duck and walks like a duck and smells like a duck and quacks like a duck, guess what? It's a duck. If it talks like an anti-Semite and it stays silent like an anti-Semite and it spews Jew hatred like an anti-Semite, are you getting the drift? Then they're an anti-Semite. And that goes for not just politicians, but it goes for religious voices out there tonight who are silent in the face of evil. Don't get me started. I'll become Jason Miller Light and start lighting it up. I can't wait for Miller Time. Jason Miller, if you're out there tonight, that's going to be the name of your program. Miller Time. McDonald will get accused of being a drunk. He's promoting beer. Oh my God, Chris is going to promote beer. I can't wait for Jason to come back. We're going to have a lot to talk about. Because Jason could come up with some zingers on that one. But I'm going to say it again, folks. If it talks like an anti-Semite, acts like an anti-Semite, posts Jew hatred on their X platforms like an anti-Semite, if they stay silent in the face of evil like an anti-Semite, Chris just know South Georgia boy, folks, they're anti-Semitic. But my question to the Jewish community tonight is, why do you vote for the anti-Semites? Because you do it in droves. And I've never understood it. I'm not saying President Trump is perfect, but I'm going to tell you something. By you voting Democrat in November, you're voting for the death of the nation of Israel. You're voting for the death of your nation. Now, it's not going to happen, because the only nation that's going to die, should we go up against Israel, will not be Israel. And I'll just leave it at that. It will be the end and the death of the great United States of America. It will hasten our destruction. And again, there's no timetable on that. I don't know when that day will come, but it will add further judgment to the judgment that's already being piled up against us tonight in the heavenlies for things that we have done, sadly, against light. And this is another one of them. But just a thought. But you Dems, knock yourself out. Knock yourself out. We'll see. We'll see what happens. It's not surprising. Not surprising. Let's move on. This is another Breitbart story. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. These are your lovely DACA recipients, by the way. Amnesty folks. 68,000 illegal aliens awarded DACA despite prior arrests. 12 years ago, 2012, former President Barack Obama created the Defend Action for Childhood Arrivals program via executive order, which was allowed close to 1 million illegals to avoid deportation from the United States. Standards for DACA, championed by President Joe Biden, were set so low that tens of thousands of illegal aliens with prior arrest records for crimes including murder, rape, kidnapping, sex abuse, were able to secure deferred deportation status and work permits to stay in the United States. Federal records published in November of 2019 by former President Donald Trump's administration revealed the scale to which illegal aliens with prior arrests were able to apply for and be granted DACA. As of 2019, the federal government had granted DACA to nearly 68,000 illegal aliens with prior arrest records, while fewer than 30,000 illegal aliens with prior arrests were denied DACA or had their DACA status terminated as a result. And this is a report coming out from 2019. I want to just say something real quick about this. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I want to get Orlando Rodriguez in on this and our border folks to talk about this. Folks, liberalism is a mental disorder. And this crap that you're hearing coming out of the mouth of Jean-Pierre, whatever her name is, that the Biden administration has done everything they can to shut the border down, that the Democrats are for the border being shut down and protected, and Trump has not done nothing, and the Republicans have done nothing. That's just a bunch of bull turd. Because, see, they always try to hope that you're stupid out there and that you won't read the newspaper or you won't listen to the McFiles on a Monday night news segment. They hope that you won't type in illegal aliens and stay up on top of this. This is why we have border people on our network. I know it bores some people and people don't like it. It's the most important subject, folks. And if you get down to the polling right now, let me tell you something. The polls indicate that is the number one thing on the mind of the American voter tonight is that border. I've got a first cousin that lives in San Diego, and everything has shifted west. When Abbott did what he was supposed to have done 5 years ago and shut the Texas border down with the National Guard, if he'd have just done this sooner, we may not be here tonight. But he got Jesus, and he went down there and did what he should have done as a governor. Well, they stopped coming through Texas, and now San Diego. San Diego is the main hub. I saw that story Friday morning. And the numbers in San Diego have quadrupled over the last 2 months. And now California is the number one state through which they enter. It used to be number 3 behind Arizona and Texas. Now it's number 1. Arizona's number 2. New Mexico number 3. Texas number 4. And the reason New Mexico is not in there, a lot of it is the terrain. Because the New Mexico terrain is a lot harder to navigate than Arizona and Texas. And California now, thanks to the illustrious Gavin Newsom, has opened their eyes. But this is the point about this story. We were told in 2012, I remember this, that these DACA recipients were these poor children that didn't need to be separated from their families. But yet I read you the story tonight, and Breitbart's a reasonable and a very reliable news source, that these quote-unquote kids are raping, kidnapping, murdering, stealing, and killing your families. And killing people and American citizens. And raping and kidnapping and committing crimes. And a lot of these kids had prior criminal records. But you can thank the illustrious Barack Obama, who, by the way, had to lead Joe Biden by the hand yesterday. Did you see that? When he was hubnubbing with the elite snobs in Hollywood yesterday, he didn't know where he was going, and it was almost like a senior, somebody taking a senior by the hand, Barack Obama. And let's be honest with each other. I know you all know this out there tonight. Barack Obama and Susan Rice are the ones running this country right now. Joe Biden ain't no more running the country than I am. And I might as well medal for the first time. Joe Biden ain't running the country no more than President Trump is. Thanks to all you Q idiots out there that thought Trump was running the country. You know, I had a dear buddy, Chris Allman. He told me one day, he said, if Trump's running this country, he said, I sure ain't going to vote for him because he just sucks at it. No, folks, Trump ain't been running this country for the last 4 years. Not to bust your Q bubble tonight, let me tell you this, neighbor. The people that are running this country are the ones that were on that stage with him trying to make sure he don't walk off that stage and break his neck. And make sure that he don't walk somewhere he ain't supposed to. And I'm not meaning that lightly tonight, folks. It's a dangerous thing that we've got the commander-in-chief with his hand on the nuke codes and his hand one click away from doing something that he wouldn't even remember he did. But the people behind him are Barack Obama and Susan Rice. And probably more. And probably more. That should concern us. But we were promised by the Obamaites that, what does Jason say? Obama is a short word for abomination. I like that. But anyway, it's a Monday night. But listen to me. We were told these were just innocent kids. They were just innocent children. And to deport them would be so unchristian. And you had church leaders saying the same thing. You had big name magazine editors like not Stephen Strange, but J. Lee Grady from the Charisma magazine. I remember this. Wrote a scathing article of us pro-border people. We were just inhumane. Well, I tell you what. You get what you ask for. And now, 68,000 of them are roaming the country, raping, pillaging, murdering, stealing, killing, and assaulting. Enjoy your utopia, Dems. You enjoy your utopia. All right. Anyway, all right, we're moving on. I'll let you chime in on that one. I'll let you chime in on that one later. By the way, I don't know if you heard about this one. This is a horrible figure, folks. Do you realize that more than 171,000 women, 171,000 women went out of state last year, to get an abortion in 2023. I'm going to read this story to you. More than 171,000 women traveled out of state to have abortions, according to data, actually from the Pro-Abortion Guttmacher Institute. Guttmacher's monthly abortion provision study, which estimates the number of abortions between January of last year and March of this year in states without total abortion restrictions, found that out-of-state travel for abortion has more than doubled since 2019, when 73,100 women crossed state lines for abortion. That was even before Roe v. Wade went down. After the Supreme Court issued its Dobbs decision in 22, which overturned the court's 73 Roe v. Wade decision that had invented a federal right to abortion for 50 years, it sent the issue of abortion back to individual states. Since then, individual states have chosen either to limit or broaden abortion laws. Guttmacher found that women, mostly residents of southern states with tighter abortion restrictions, traveled across several states to have an abortion or obtain abortion pills. Historically, however, many of the people traveling from restrictive states went to states that now have total abortion bans. The Institute said in a news release, for instance, in 2020, more than 800 Louisiana residents traveled to Texas for abortion care following the overturning of the bill, Roe v. Wade, that was no longer possible. In 23, more than 3,500 Louisianians traveled across multiple states to get care, and it's not care, in places like Florida, Illinois, and Georgia. And the Dems folks are making this an issue. The state that saw the most women leave for abortions was Texas, the pro-abortion organization found. According to the data, more than 14,000 Texas women went to New Mexico for abortions, and several thousand others went across several states. By the way, Illinois, which has been made into an abortion haven, received the most women from out of state seeking abortion. The organization found that roughly 37,000, look at that, 300 women, folks, came from 16 states to Illinois for abortion. What is that telling us tonight? We're going to talk about this as well. Let me tell you what it's telling us, folks. Abortion's not dead. They're finding a way to kill those babies. They're just traveling to states now to do it instead of letting the federal government pay for it. This fight for life is not over. It's never been over. And we told you that back in 22. We told you that in 23. We're telling it to you again tonight. That they're still killing the babies. They're still killing the babies. And while the church, again, stays silent, doesn't say nothing, they're killing the babies. They're just taking into the states that I've got a billboard here in my state, just down the road from me, that the California folks, Mr. Newsom, purchased the billboard, evidently. The state of California did. And it's got his big smile and his hand out, something like this, and he says, come to California. We'll help you kill your baby. We'll help abort your baby. Because our governor here, Bill Lee, is one of the most pro-life governors. I don't agree with him on everything, but on this issue, me and him stand shoulder to shoulder, toe to toe, in agreement with. We don't allow you to kill your baby here in the hills without penalty. And there's other states in the 50th states that don't allow you to kill your baby without penalty either. But let me tell you this. This is going to be an election issue. And I'm going to say it in no uncertain terms tonight. All you Christians out there, and I'm not saying that flippantly, folks. I'm being very serious what I'm about to say. We're about to find out who are the Chinos and who are the real believers in November. Because to say you're a born-again believer and vote for an abortion party and an abortion candidate and not vote to keep life protected, whether it's on the state level or whether it's on the federal level, to me that's the only issue that matters. We get lampooned on the right. We get lampooned by even people on the right for claiming that abortion, we believe, is the only issue. Folks, when you get to heaven and I get to heaven and we stand before Almighty God, I want these people to ask God what He cared about the most. I'm going to tell you something. God ain't going to be too concerned about the American economy, and He's not going to be too concerned about whether we've got higher or lower taxes. If we're slaughtering babies, and look, think about it, even if there's 171,000 babies that have been slaughtered just since last year, we're only into June. We're halfway through this year, folks. That's just in a little over 15 months. That should tell you, even if that's the number that's being reported, it's more than that. Bottom line, we still killing the babies. Bottom line, we either need to protect life or keep our mouth shut and stop putting our bumper sticker Christianity out there like we're a bunch of Christians that don't care about nothing but our bumper stickers, and people thinking we're Christian on Facebook or religious on Facebook or religious on X, and then we go and betray life in the polls. It'd be wise to put up or shut up. It's a Monday night. It's a Monday night McFile news night. We'll talk about that. I'll amen myself on that one. A couple of other stories. They're calling you cheap flakes when the White House videos of Joe Biden's public malfunction are being fabricated. Videos exposing President Joe Biden's age, gas, and recent awkwardness in public. Man, the G7 folks are wondering what was going on with Coffee Joe. Are cheap fakes. Actually, not flakes. I thought this said flakes for a minute there. I'm hanging around Miller too much. He probably would have said flakes. Cheap fakes, and published in bad faith. Kareem Jean-Pierre claimed today, during the first press conference in about 3 weeks, reporters asked her if the White House, quote, was worried about Biden's curious behavior that appears to be a pattern. Here's her response.
There seems to be a sort of rash of videos that have been edited to make the president appear especially frail or mentally confused. I'm wondering if the White House is especially worried about the fact that this appears to be a pattern of being more wrong.
Yeah, and I think you all have called this a cheap fakes video, and that's exactly what they are. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith. And some of your news organization have been very clear, have stressed that these the right-wing critics of the president have a credibility problem because of the fact checkers have repeatedly caught them pushing misinformation, disinformation, and so we see.
Let me stop it right there, folks. I'm just going to stop that video right there. Have you ever noticed that the left loves to use the word misinformation when it pertains to them, but when it pertains to somebody on the right, or President Trump, or a religious leader, it's always facts with truth, and there's no question in it whatsoever. But anything said about the left, it's automatically out there. They did the same thing to the Hunter Biden laptop. They claimed that was misinformation. But the Russia hoax with Trump was absolutely true. And to question that you were supporting Vladimir Putin, and to question that you were un-American and unpatriotic. It's a pattern. There is a pattern, Jean-Pierre. Keep rolling that tape. Keep rolling that tape. It gets more stupid, but go ahead and roll the tape.
This is something coming from your part of the world, calling them cheap fakes and misinformation. I'll quote the Washington Post, what they wrote. They wrote about this, and they said how Republicans used misleading videos to attack Biden in a 24-hour period. And to their credit, we have a conservative Washington Examiner did call them out as well, calling out the New York Post. Ironically, several recent cheap fakes.
They have never called anybody out, folks. Let me just say something about that. Just because somebody claims that they're calling somebody out, don't make it so. And while I'm at it, I might as well meddle a little bit. Just because you read something on the internet about somebody else, don't make it so. Okay? Don't make it so. Don't make it so. And again, the only misinformation that's out there is the lies that's been told about Hunter Biden's laptop. And they're still digging in. Trapper, the other Tapper, whatever the CIA guy's name was, and even Brennan were out there this week still trying to claim that it was all Russian disinformation, that the Biden laptop existed. They love to use that word. Watch this pattern. This is unreal. Here she goes. But the Washington Post did not call nobody out.
Actually attack the president for thanking troops. For thanking troops. That is what they're attacking the president for. Both in Normandy this happened, and again in Italy. And I think that it tells you everything that we need to know about how desperate Republicans are here.
Wow.
And instead of talking about the president's performance.
Hey, I got a good idea to the Republicans. Why don't you take Jean-Pierre up on that challenge to talk about his performance? I got no problem with that. I got no problem with that. And I don't think any of you do too. Do you have a problem with that? If you don't, put thumbs up in the chat room for me tonight. Do you have a problem with us talking about his performance? I'll be more than happy with Miss Jean-Pierre to talk about Joe Biden's performance. I would be tickled if they would start talking about his performance. I wish the Republicans would get some balls and start talking about his performance and not be scared of their shadow to talk about his performance. And stop performing in front of the camera when it's convenient. I'm all for that, Jean-Pierre. If you want to play that game and get down in the dirt, let's get down and do it. We need to talk about his performance. We need to talk about what he did to embarrass the country at the G7 summit. We need to talk about the $36 trillion worth of debt that's been rolled up under him. Now, he's not responsible for all of it, but he's responsible for a lot of it, some of it. He's responsible for our borders being wide open tonight. His party's responsible for this DACA thing. His party's responsible for the killing of the babies. Some. They have fought Roe v. Wade at every turn. Texas can't even secure its border without Joe Biden suing Texas to try to stop Abbott from doing his job. He can't get two sentences together. And folks, I'm not making fun of him tonight. These are very serious situations that the leader of the free world is in this state cognitively not. We've never had a president this bad. Never. Not, and I'm not saying that to be funny about it. It's not a funny matter. It's nothing to laugh at. It's a dangerous place this nation's in tonight, to have a leader like this. But you folks that voted for him, I hope you're enjoying the show. I hope you're enjoying the show. But if you want to talk about his performance, Jean-Pierre, please, let's do. Let's do. Inflation. Some of you can't go to the grocery store. Getting 6 items in the grocery store in your cart and spending $100. Gas tripled. When we left Trump in 21, Trump left office in 21 of January. Gas was $1.78 a gallon all over the country. Even California was around $2. Now it's back up to $6 a gallon in California. It's $3.35 here. And since now I'm just a South Georgia boy. That's 3 times what it was before Joe Biden took office. Energy costs. They're trying to phase out gasoline. These electric cars are a joke, folks. Can't afford them to begin with. Can't afford them to begin with. Nobody wants them. And they're pushing this on us. They're destroying every industry they can. They're destroying every small business they can. So let's talk about his performance, Jean-Pierre. Let's talk about his performance. 12 million illegals running rampant over the country. People being killed, murdered, raped, assaulted by people that shouldn't be here to begin with. Crime at a level we've never seen it before. 48 dead, by the way, shot this weekend in Chicago. Media ain't going to talk about that. No, they don't want to talk about that. All they want to talk about is Trump being a threat to your democracy tonight. I would advise the Dems don't use words you can't understand. And you don't get. Because you don't understand it. All right, enough of that. You get the drift. She says it's misinformation to say Joe Biden these are fake videos. Well, okay, whatever. I'm sure you all believe that tonight. Not. That's how they spin it. By the way, here's what I was telling you about. Wasserman Schultz is going after Bowman, this Jamal Bowman, the guy that turned on the fire extinguisher in New York and got in trouble for it. She says he's engaged in anti-Semitic rhetoric and only condemned the actions of Hamas in the October the 7th attack after several months when it was clear polling was problematic for him. Let me say something about that tonight, folks. It ain't just politicians. When the heat gets on these religious leaders and they're called on the carpet, they give a tepid response. Some of them don't say nothing about the Hamas attack. Folks, there are some voices out there that I don't even care if they don't like Israel, they don't like Israel. They haven't had the moral courage to even condemn the terrorist attacks. There's a lot of church leaders that have not even condemned Hamas for what they did on October the 7th, and the church stands silent, thinking that that's Israel's problem, that's not our problem. It is our problem. It is our problem. And if it's anti-Semitic, and talks anti-Semitic, walks like an anti-Semite, and quacks like an anti-Semite, and is silent in the face of anti-Semitism like an anti-Semite, Chris's take on it, as my late father used to say, if it acts like a duck, quacks like a duck, son, it's a duck. And it's an anti-Semite. And Jamal Bowman is an anti-Semite. I'm not a big fan of Wasserman Schultz. I'm not a fan of any Democrat. But I hope the candidate that Hillary's backing, and I want a pair of scissors to cut my tongue out for what I'm about to say, but I'm pulling for the candidate that Hillary's backing in this. It's none of my business, because I won't be voting up there. But you New Yorkers need to send this anti-Semite who don't know where the fire extinguisher is in the Congress home. Just a thought. That's how bad our politics has got when Chris has to support the candidate Hillary Clinton's supporting. We in trouble. We in trouble. I don't like Miss Schultz, but I agree with her. By the way, folks, speaking of the abortion pill, did you hear about this one? Supreme Court rejects the bid to restrict the abortion pill. We talked about this Friday night, I think Thursday night, I should say. They rejected this bid Thursday to restrict an abortion pill widely used in the United States to terminate pregnancies. Let me say something right about that real quick. I'm about to get to your questions here in a minute. Listen to me. I don't care whether it's a pill or you're going to a doctor, it's still murder. It's still murder. It's still murder. You can sanitize it all you want to. You can wrap it up in a bow and say, well, it's more humane to do this than go and rip the baby out of the woman's womb. No, it's not. No, it's not. In this sick society, people think it is. In this sick society that we call America tonight, that is controlled by demon spirits, it is. But it's not, folks. God sees it the same way. The United States Supreme Court brought judgment again. It just increased the judgment on this country by what it did Thursday. That pill should have never seen the light of day. But what it does, it makes it easier now for women that get pregnant and they don't want the baby, or the man that don't want the baby, say we can go terminate this pregnancy without you having to go to a doctor. Just take a pill, kill the baby. How civilized. How civilized. How civilized. Folks, do you realize that the animals of nature don't even do this stuff? The stuff that we're doing as human beings in this country, it is mind-blowing to me. It's mind-blowing to me, the level of depravity that we've reached, that the animal kingdom looks at us and they shake their head at what we're doing. They do. I know they can't talk, and I know they can't think, but I wonder if they could talk, what they would say about the human race right now. And this country in particular, that we think it's okay to kill a baby. We don't care how we do it. It's very sad. We're going to get Carla Diaz Nicole on here with that soon. Talk about that. By the way, another couple more stories. Non-citizens accounted for 64% of arrests and federal offenses in 2018. Well, let me give you a little news flash, folks. When you allow 12 million illegals across your border and you start getting criminals and lawless individuals and people that rape, maim, and steal and kill and cheat and all sorts of good stuff criminally, guess what? Your crime figures are going to show that 64% of them are not even citizens. Just common math to tell you that. Even Chris can figure that one out. We shouldn't be shocked. We shouldn't be shocked. That's a lot of folks, though. guys. That's 2018. So think about that. That was during the time Trump was trying to fix the border. Can you imagine what that figure is tonight? I'm sure that figure will be adjusted from the time of 2020 up to now. Probably more than 64%. I would dare say it's probably pushing 80. I hope you Biden voters are happy for that. I'm sure you're all hyped up. By the way, did you hear about this one? A woman, a news station employee in Ohio, has been fired for posting on social media celebrating straight pride. Madonna Chisholm Pinkard was fired at WFMJ TV's Community Relations Director for sharing, for sharing an unauthorized post, as they claim it, during Pride Month. The station announced her termination in a Facebook post on Tuesday. WFNJ has terminated the employment of our Community Relations Director following her unauthorized post on a company-linked social media site last week. The station continued, WFMJ is committed to serving our entire community with the respect we believe all people deserve. We recognize we live in a diverse community with differing views on many topics, and we believe discussions of those views and reporting on them should be done in a respectful manner by all. We deeply regret that our Community Relations Director crossed the line. I'm going to ask you a question about this. We're going to get you questions. I got one more story, I think. I wonder if that community directions director was an LGBTQ advocate and posted that same post blasting Christians. I wonder even if she was a Muslim and she was blasting the LGBTQ community. Now, I don't know what the lady's faith is. They claim she crossed the line. I bet. Again, folks, we're not doing this stuff in the dark. We're doing it in light, against light, against light. I hope she sues. I hope she sues and I hope she wins. Big. The double standard is sickening. And to be frank with you, there is no such thing as Pride Month. It's not pride. I would say a word for it tonight, but this is a family show on a Monday night. There's no pride in it. What's being done? That's going to continue. They're going to continue to eradicate any voices that speak out against this community. And I'm not saying that in judgment, but that's what's going on. And that's your First Amendment rights being shredded by the LGBTQ community. Final story tonight. This is a Bible story. I found this interesting. Now, you Bible students will appreciate this one. You might want to, you'll have this in the news section of the website. But this is interesting to me. I've been reading Isaiah. But an ancient military base discovered potentially what corroborates the Bible story of God's angel killing 185,000 Assyrian soldiers. An army of Assyrian was trying to conquer the Holy Land. Sennacherib was getting ready to invade Judah. He had overstepped his bounds. And God had told Isaiah not to listen to his threat. He had told Hezekiah not to listen to his threats. They went to bed that night. God told Hezekiah, stand still, I'll deal with it. And God dealt with it. One angel went into the Assyrian camp of Sennacherib, and 185,000 Assyrian soldiers were dead. Just like that. And it was the end of Sennacherib's attempt to take Judah. Now, God had ordained him to be the chastisement rod for the northern kingdom, but he never gave Sennacherib the green light to attack Jerusalem. And God really didn't give him the green light. He allowed Sennacherib, but he overstepped his bounds. The enemies of God always overstep their bounds. They always do. But it's amazing that the Bible is corroborated by people that don't believe in it. That story is true. There are those out there that claim that didn't ever happen. They don't believe these miracles of the Old Covenant were literal miracles. Well, come to find out, they found corroboration evidence that it was true. And I can guarantee you tonight, it is true. It is true. All righty. Now, it's 10:07. It is 10:07. And if you've got a question, or comment, Roger Hooker says, if you don't agree with everything Democrats believe, you've crossed the line and need to be retrained. You know, Roger, I'm glad you said that, and I was trying to find that story. I saw it the other day, and I think we posted it. I don't know where I was at. I'm glad you said that, because there's a Democratic lawmaker in New York, and see, they always slip up. And I've heard this more than once. They believe, Roger, what you just said, that if you don't toe the line with the Democrat talking points, they're going to put us in training camps, internment camps, just like the communists did. Communists do stuff like that. The Nazis did that stuff. But they want to do that, Roger. You're absolutely right. I'm just going to go ahead and say it, folks. Liberalism is nothing but a mental disorder. I think Savage said that, Michael Savage. It's nothing but a mental disorder. I'd say something else about it, but this is a family show tonight. This is a family show. Good to see Miss Lori Farrell in the house tonight. I agree too, Lori. Tim Neal, Cheryl White. Good to see you all tonight. And if you got a question or a comment, real quick, put it in the house. I'm listening to comments. Debbie Cox says, these electric cars remind me of expensive toys. They're expensive, Deb. They ain't toys. You've got these electric gas pumps that are a joke. I don't see how people do it, folks. Think about this. Think about going on a trip that's, say, 6-7 hours already, but you got to add 3 hours to the trip to basically gas up, because those electric cars, I don't know what the mileage is. I don't care to. But I'm keeping my cars. I'm sorry. I will never trade these I've got right now. I'm not going to trade them in. Just not. Ever. Because they're gas cars. But they're trying to destroy the gas industry. They're trying to destroy the coal industry. They're trying to destroy the industry and force us to buy them. I'm not buying them. And people want to do it, knock yourself out. But you might want to add about 3 hours to your trip, because if that thing dies, you're looking at a 2-hour charge time. You're looking at about a 2-hour charge time. And you better hope you ain't in the middle of nowhere when it dies. There's been stories of that already. But my hope is the industry collapses. I hope that it gets so bad that nobody buys them, that there won't be any electric car industry. And I think Trump will put a stop to it when he gets back in office. Prayerfully, hopefully, in November. That's why elections matter. I think you'll see an end to that. Becky says, what's your thoughts about Robert Morris? I don't want to talk about, let me just say this, Beck, I'm going to remove that comment. I am not going to chime in on any hearsay. I don't care. I've got a strong opinion about these websites. That's all they dedicate themselves to, is exposing, or they say they're exposing, failure. My suggestion, what is my thoughts? I don't know what he did 12 years ago. I wasn't there. Only he and God was there. That's my thoughts. And we need to pray for whatever situation it is. That's my thoughts. That's my thoughts. It's 300 miles, Mark Kaysen. 300 miles. That's right. And think about that. 300 miles. Just 300 miles. Think about, folks, if you went on, just think about that. A 300-mile trip, 70 miles an hour on an interstate, 80 if you're out west. That's 3 hours, roughly. 3 to 4 hours, maybe 4 hours, 4.5 hours. That 300-mile trip goes to 6 hours, 7 hours. That would normally take you 3. 3 to 4 hours. So, interesting. Eddie Gilbert, it's called the Emergency Powers Act that allows citizen containment, forced isolation, and relocation. Well, Eddie, it probably is called that. That's what they want. And I don't doubt that they're going to try to, if the powers that be don't get voted out, that's what they're ultimately after, Eddie. I don't doubt it does exist. But that's why elections matter. And that's why we, the people, need to be very concerned about this November. Because that's what they want. That's what they want. And, folks, let me just say this about President Trump tonight. I'm voting for President Trump. There's no question. I never vote for a Democrat ever again. I don't care who they are. It's not going to be a cakewalk. It's not going to be a cakewalk come November. And I don't think I have to tell y'all this. All hell's about to break loose in this country. All hell's about to break loose in this country. If you thought the summer of 2020 was rough with Antifa and Black Lives Matter, you mark my word, folks, we're 2 weeks into June. We ain't seen nothing yet. We got about 9 weeks to go for the summer. And I got a sense that it's about to bubble up. But this time it's a little different. They're using the Israel situation as their catalyst to protest. And these pro-Hamas supporters are mixed in with the anarchists, and the anarchists are mixed in with these pro-Hamas people. There was a bombing, University of California over the weekend, one of the buildings. I don't know if anybody got hurt, but the anarchy is coming. And if you don't think, when they get up on that podium November the 5th and say Donald Trump is the 47th president of the United States, they're not going to do some crap. God help us. So, I would just it will be wild, Mark. Absolutely. 300 miles, and that's when you have to charge it. Jennifer says it'll be living in the Fourth Reich. Terry says abortion doesn't make a woman unpregnant, it makes her the mother of a dead child. Michelle Dana, kids are going to be asking, are we there yet? Driving their parents insane. Even more. Oh, Michelle, you must have children. Oh, Lord have mercy. I didn't think about that one. Lord have mercy. You're right. That alone will cause people to take that car back. That alone will say, we don't want these electric cars no more. We don't want them electric cars no more. Anyway. Yeah, Carol, Hillary did talk about re-education camps. Hillary's talked about them. Barack Obama insinuated, I don't know if y'all remember the comment he made. What did he say that got him in trouble? And he said the people in Pennsylvania was hanging onto their guns, their Bibles, and their ideology or something like that, and they needed to be re-educated. He didn't come out and tell them to put him in a camp, but he was basically saying, we're having to overcome this us liberals are having to overcome our crap because them reasonably thinking Pennsylvanians are clinging to their guns, clinging to their Bibles, clinging to their conservative values. Well, she did. She did say that. Kiwi says, tell your young Democrat voters that they're getting drafted if they don't. Kiwi, I'm glad you mentioned that. By the way, I saw that story yesterday, and I'll bring it up with James this week. We're going to probably have James either tomorrow night or Thursday night by phone. The draft. The Biden administration, the DOD, Department of Defense, has now drawn up plans to draft more of our young people into the Army more than they've ever done before. Thank you, Kiwi. That's an excellent point, an excellent statement. Excellent statement. And the situation is, one, these warmongers, folks, they are salivating for war. They are salivating for your sons and daughters and mine, because my little one, my youngest one, would be in this age group, and it got my attention. And I will tell you this, I've told you this story before, and we've got about 15 minutes, so if you've got a question, I'm not going nowhere for right now. He said something to me 2 or 3 months ago. We were driving down the road, and Caleb don't get into this political stuff like his dad. He just don't. He's just not a political person. I love him, he's my nerd. Caleb's into video games and computers. He's my geek. And he's in cybersecurity, learning to make sure that his dad's computer don't get hacked by Ukrainians and Nigerian scammers. I'm proud of him. He's about to get his degree in cybersecurity. So politics ain't his thing. But my 21-year-old, 22-year-old now, we drive down the road for lunch one day, and he said, Dad, he said, what is this I hear about the draft? It concerns me. Now, when we go vote, he goes vote. We vote together. That's a father-son thing we do. Every time we've had an election, the last couple of elections he went to with me, the midterm, and the first election he voted in was Trump in 2020, and I was proud. He was there with me. Of course, Daddy leaned over and whispered, if you vote for Joe Biden, I'm going to kill you. I didn't tell him that. He knew better. He wouldn't get another allowance for 30 years if he did. I'm messing with him. Me and him, we have a fun relationship. He's my sweetheart. He's my pride and joy. I love all my boys, but that's my baby. It concerned him. And it concerned him enough to ask me. He said, Daddy, I'm scared. He said, I don't want to be drafted into the army and go fight. And see, folks, this is the thing. If it was a legitimate reason, if we were defending our country for legitimate reasons, I know my son would do the right thing. He would do the right thing. But his thinking, I was proud of him. He says, I don't want to go fight for a cause that is not right. They are thinking about it, Kiwi. They're thinking about it. More of them are thinking about it than we may think. Mine is. They need to think hard. That's maybe why Trump's up with the young vote. I think they said the other day he's like 3 or 4 points ahead of Biden with that under 30 age group. And Karen, you're right. Women may be eligible for the draft also. I heard about that too. Janet Williams says, Democrats today are not the same as they were in my parents' day. The days of Camelot were different than now. I think some just vote Democrat because that's what they've always done. Evil abounds. You know, Janet, I'm glad you said that. That I've heard a lot of older people tell me that. I'm thinking of a couple that I know exactly. You're absolutely square on. They see the Democrat Party today, and in their mind, they think it's the Democrat Party of JFK, and it's not. My dad used to always say that the Republican Party, which is a wishy-washy bunch, moderate, all sorts of things, it's really the old Democrat Party, because those conservative Democrats of the 1960s into the early 70s, they were actually Republicans today. And this mega movement, this more conservative movement of the country has sprung up, of course, over the last 8 years with President Trump. But if y'all don't forget, we had the Tea Party that arose in 2010. And that was really the grassroots start of all of this. And you're absolutely square on, Janet. I'm glad you brought that up, because you're right. The older people have a hard time reconciling this Democrat Party with the one that they grew up with. Because the one they grew up with was not that crazy. I didn't agree with a lot of what they pushed with the social programs. But I will say this. If Zell Miller were alive today, and he was the Zell Miller of he's from Georgia. Zell Miller was one of the best governors we ever had in Georgia. He wasn't perfect, but in 2004, he campaigned for George W. Bush Jr. And blasted John Kerry like there was no tomorrow at the Republican National Convention, I would have voted for Zell Miller. I might have had to hold my nose with his party, but Zell Miller was a good man. And those days are gone. There are no good Democrats left. Joe Manchin was a moderate, but now he's independent. He's not even a Democrat anymore. He has totally renounced his party. And I think more of that's coming from some of these conservative Democrats. Janet's a good point and a very good statement. That is a very good statement. That is a very good statement. Let's see here. Let's go over to Facebook tonight. We're grateful y'all are with us tonight. Good comments. Corey Aguilar says, can you imagine who will be drafted? We will all have to tell them not to eat fried toothpicks or Tide Pods. Oh, good Lord. Corey, I'm a little worried about that too. I would say something else, but it would get me in a lot of trouble tonight because let's just put it like this. Getting in the foxholes with some of this bunch, I wouldn't want to be in a foxhole with some of these people that they're trying to draft. I'm just saying. I'll just leave it at that. I'll let you figure that one out. But folks, these, y'all, I see the comments and it's right. They're drafting women. You know, these kids that they don't have any clue what they're fighting. They would have no idea how to defend the country. They just don't. And I saw one comment in Facebook just now. They're having to draft because they can't get anyone to go to the military. That's why they want to draft, and that's exactly right. And Tony, your point is well spoken, and I would just add to that: you can't blame them. My brother's retired military. He got out early for this very reason. He got out early when he saw Obama coming in. He didn't want to be part of an Obama-led military, and he got out. And they punished him for it. They sent him to Iraq for a year. My brother was 40 years old when they sent my brother to... He was laughing at me. He told me, he said these kids were screaming at him because he had to go through basic boot camp. And he said these young kids would get in his face like this to scream at him about something he did wrong. And then they would stop and say, Mr. McDonald, we're sorry. Because he was old enough to be their daddy. He was old enough to be their daddy. They would scream at him and then say, Mr. McDonald, we're sorry. We didn't mean to scream at you. Tony, your point is well taken. They don't want to go in this military. Would you? I sure wouldn't. Not with this warmongering bunch. Not with this warmongering bunch. And Jennifer, you're right. Zell Miller would have been called a conservative today. He would have. Susan Prusky, I've heard stories about women being taken advantage of while in the military. Opens up difficulties having women drafted too. Well, Susan, that's not nothing new, though women have been drafted for many decades. Women have been drafted for many decades. It's nothing. I mean, they've enrolled, I should say. They've not been drafted, but they've been enrolled, and those stories go back into the 80s, 90s. There were scandals with the Clinton years with some of the cadets, and I remember my brother, he was in the Air Force Academy in the late 80s, got out in 1990, graduated, and there was an Air Force Academy scandal with women, and there's other things. It's nothing new, but your point is taken. Your point is well taken. It is a complicated mess to integrate women into a man's environment. I'm going to say something. It's going to sound a little chauvinistic. I don't mind women serving. If that's how they want to go with their careers and their life and they want to help their country. I'm just thinking of my granddaughter. I would not want her holding a machine gun on a battlefield with men. Now that's just Chris. I know that there's a lot of difference of opinions about that. It's not the place for a woman. And I'm not trying to go back to the 1920s where a woman's place is in the kitchen and all that crap. I'm not even remotely saying that, because folks, a lot of these women that go in the military, they're very brilliant, intelligent women, and there are a number of things they can do to help the military. They can. When you're dealing with battlefield horror and war, it's a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different ballgame. And that's just my opinion. You ain't got to agree with it, but that's my opinion. And I'll leave it at that. Rosemary says if they started drafting young women, maybe we will have a new baby boom season that would keep them from being drafted. Rosemary, perhaps, but I don't want to go there. Look, that has nothing to do with them being women, ultimately. If they want to serve, they're more than willing to serve. I think it's admirable if a young lady wants to come out of high school, enlist in one of the military academies, because there were women at my brother's academy when he was at the Air Force. There was nothing wrong with what they did, but they went into careers within the military that were not battlefield related. And again, that's just my opinion. It's not so much about the woman, but what they're going to do in drafting these women. They're not drafting them to be secretaries. They're drafting them to grab a rifle, young lady, and go out there and get your head shot off. That's not cool. That's not cool. So it's not okay. Anyway, all right, we got about 3 minutes here. I hadn't even kept you an hour and a half tonight. So if you got a final thought or two, real quick. Too traumatic, Corey is right. Too traumatic is right. Anybody in Facebook, and final check on Facebook. Good to see, man. We got a good crowd in Facebook tonight. We got a good crowd in X. We've got a good crowd here in YouTube. My goodness, we got almost 400 people tonight. Awesome. Awesome sauce. Awesome sauce. I'm trying to see. Good to see old Mark Casey tonight. I'm really grateful you're here. Good to see you, buddy. Did you enjoy the show tonight? If you enjoyed the show, put some fire in that house. Put some fire in that house tonight. Happy birthday to Susan. Happy birthday to you. Folks, I want to end the show tonight. As we began the show tonight, our dear friend Cleo Cleotis, who is a moderator, a dear friend, and she has been a tremendous supporter of this network and a friend to the host, and a precious friend at that. I wanted to make sure it was okay for me to say this. We will talk about this more Wednesday night, but I do want to just say that our condolences go out to her tonight. Her mom passed away overnight, and she wants to thank everybody for the prayers for the loss of her, for those of you that have reached out. We're sad to report that tonight. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want a lot of comments in the chat right now about it. But please just keep her and her family in prayer, because it's not just her mom. Cleo's dealing with some things physically, and Christopher, her son, is in surgery. So it's just been a triple whammy on the whole family. And our prayers go out to the Cleo's family. We're going to have a special word of prayer for them Wednesday night on our Faith Show. And but I wanted to say this, because I know you news folks, a lot of you folks in the news network know Cleo, and she is always here helping us when she can. It's the time zone difference, sort of. It's not easy on her, and we appreciate it. Thanks, Kathy, for being out there tonight, and Dory's here in the mornings, and Natalie's here, and Jason's there when he can. But Cleo is there, and I appreciate her so much. But I was debating even whether to say it tonight or wait, but I felt led to say it here at the end tonight, that our deepest condolences and sympathies go out to the Cleotis family tonight on the loss of her mama. And just remember her. Just remember her in your prayers tonight. And thank you all for that. And we appreciate that. If you see her, just pass on your condolences and let her know how much you care for her and love her. And it's good to see Jamie, my dear buddy over in Nashville. Good to see you tonight, my friend. Good to see you. Coming to see you guys in Nashville again. We got a conference we're going to be working on, finding a place. And don't forget, this weekend, we'll talk about it on the Faith Network Wednesday night. Dalton, Ohio. Not Dayton, but Dalton. It's near Cleveland, about 45 minutes to an hour southwest, in between Columbus and Cleveland. at the Dutch Kitchen Event Center. Chris is not cooking. That doesn't mean we're cooking. We're going to cook all right, but not food. We're going to be dealing with end-time prophetic subjects, and you don't want to miss it. It's going to be a good time of fellowship. Come and be with me. We'll talk about this more Wednesday night too, but it is a Monday night, and I want to give you a heads up. Listen, thank you all for being with me tonight. If you enjoyed the show, put some fire in that house. And again, our condolences to Cleo and her family on the loss of her mom tonight, and please continue to pray for them. Thank you all for your donations. PayPal.me/themcfiles. We could sure use some extra help this week with the expenses around this conference and the traveling and so forth. And we're grateful for you that help us. ZELLE, chrismac44@gmail.com, and so forth. We've got some great pre-recorded interviews coming up over the next 2 weeks. Ruth Gudenheim will be with me tomorrow night in a pre-recorded interview. And we've got some other interview guests that we're going to have on the show, and so forth. And then next week we'll be back to normal. Just bear with us this week. It's going to be a little staggered. Now, this is for the Bible students. We're going to be late in the morning. My brother is coming in, and I'm going to be with him in the morning, but we will be on in the morning. Probably we'll start around 10:30, 11. So you'll get a Bible study out of me, but it'll just be later in the morning. So you don't have to get up as early. Just have your coffee later, and we'll take you into lunch. How about that? And we'll go an hour, like we normally do. And then Wednesday morning and Thursday morning, we'll still be on here, three this week. And then I'll see you guys in Ohio Friday night. May the Lord bless you tonight. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless this great nation of America. Any further questions, McFilesForum@gmail.com. We appreciate you chiming in tonight. And may the Lord bless you. And we'll see you in the morning, sort of late morning, and then tomorrow night back here with Miss Ruth Gudenheim, unless something changes. And but we'll definitely have James Akers on this week and some other guests too. All right? Listen, have a good night, everybody, and be blessed out there. And we'll see you when we see you in the morning. Have a good night on a great Monday. Pray for this nation, folks. I think it goes without saying, we need to pray for America like we ain't never prayed for America before. And may the Lord bless you. Thank you all for the good comments and the good questions, and we appreciate you all. Have a good night, everybody. Be blessed.